Oh, baby, if that doesn't get you jacked up for some Phillies baseball, I don't know what will. What's going on, everybody? Mike Small here, along with my guy Dylan Davis, for another year, another season of Spitballin', where we focus on your Philadelphia Phillies. Double D, what's happening, my man?
What's going on, man? It feels good to finally get back to talking some fighting Phils. Last year,
Absolutely.
I forget when we started it, but it was kind of like the middle of the season. It was after opening, like when they came back for the 56 game or 60 game season. So a full year is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of fun to analyze. But before we get into today's discussions and topics with opening day tomorrow, we do have a sponsor here at the Painted Lines. So here's a message from our sponsors at XL Media.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
There you go. What do you think,
I hope you had
Mike?
Denver plus the points yesterday. Long story. Let's not hit that. So, man, you're probably wondering what I'm sitting here doing with this sling. I had
tell everyone what's going on.
Yeah, I had some
Blends in
shoulder
very
surgery
well, by the
last
way.
week. What's that?
Blends in very well, by the way. Can't even
Thank
notice.
you. Yeah, I did black on purpose,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I had some shoulder surgery last week. I have a bum wing. I had some spurs removed, a torn labrum, torn bicep, but I should be able to throw in the mid 90s and spin that curveball pretty soon. But speaking of spinning that curveball pretty soon, you got Aaron Nola opening day. You got Zach Wheeler, and then what?
And then what? He has announced Zach Eflin will get the start on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah. Listen, if his back's healthy, he could be pretty good. I mean, I think everything's in line for a Zach Eflin step up this year.
Do you? Because I'm really banking on the fact that he's expecting a child, so he's going to have some of that dad strength and dad motivation out there. Because other than that, I'm not buying in on the Zach Eflin train yet again.
I'm just going to tell you the only way that I know how to tell you that I'm being sincere about it. I picked him on my fantasy team this year. So I'm buying Zach Eflin stock all over the place. Little nervous about Matt Moore and Chase Anderson stock.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm okay with it. I think
that's not a resounding bit of excitement for Phillies fans. I'm okay with it.
No. Oh, okay.
It's kind of like, yeah, I'll take the green beans with my crappy dinner.
Sorry. What I mean to say is I'm okay with Spencer Howard not being in the 5 to start. Send him down, let him get some work. And then see, the knock on Spencer Howard is he can't get through 5 or 6. Can he build off of last year? Because he showed glimpses of, what the prospect is supposed to be of Spencer Howard. So send him down, see what what the veterans have in Matt Moore and Chase Anderson. What I will say is I like it better than what they had last year. Right. And I mean, they were a fringe playoff team.
Well, anything without Vince Velasquez in the lineup is pretty good, right?
100% correct.
Top 5.
100% correct. We don't have to, it doesn't seem like we're going to have to worry about, trying to buy in on Vinny's changeup this year, and Vinny's velocity is back up, and we don't got to buy into any of it anymore. He's put in the bullpen where hopefully he can find a home and a place on this roster. But as far as, Matt Moore and Chase Anderson go, I think, both of them have shown glimpses. Matt Moore was over in Japan last year, right? I think he had just over a 3 ERA. He threw a ton of innings. The biggest thing is if these two can get deep into games. Can they get deeper in the game, 6-7 innings? Then what does that mean, Mike? It's less stress on your bullpen. It's less strain on your bullpen, which is a little bit revamped as well. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking for, because this lineup is good enough to where even if these two have a 3.5 ERA, right? They're giving up 3 to 4 runs a start, but they're getting through 6 innings, sometimes 7 innings. Well, now it's less strain on your bullpen, less innings out of the bullpen.
The one thing about that is, you're looking at those 5 that we just talked about as your starters.
Right.
The one thing I can guarantee you is we're going to see at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 different names in their starting games for the Phillies this year.
Absolutely.
It's a long season. There's still COVID stuff to worry about. You've got some guys with some wear and tear on their arms like Anderson and Moore. You got guys that get hurt a lot like Eflin. Zach Wheeler has been an injury guy in the past, although he was pretty stable last year.
Until the last weekend of the season when he got his finger stuck in his zipper.
That's a whole different story. But Noah's for the most part been pretty healthy, but there have been times that he's been off a little bit. So look, the bottom line is everybody's going to get a shot this year. Let's see who wants it. In terms of the bullpen, I'm really, how long into this podcast are we? I can't believe we didn't hit the bullpen in the first 3 seconds, but
7 minutes and 7
seconds. Minutes and no bullpen. That might be a record for us. Well, I mean, think about it. Last year, what did they play? 56 games and they had a lead.
Wasn't it 60 or 62 or something like that?
Maybe it was 62. They had a lead in 49 of them.
Yep.
And the bullpen blew that many of them. That was the difference. Nobody's talking about the Phillies being a contender this year because the Braves are so good and the Mets spent so much money and the Nationals have some glamour people on their team. But if the Phillies just got a serviceable bullpen, they would have been in the mix, at the very least last year. And now they're healthier. The question is, they got Archie Bradley and they got a few other guys that
Alvarado
maybe don't suck. Alvarado has a big arm, but he got rocked at the end of spring training. The question is, should they have spent some money on one stud closer? Your buddy Hector Neris was named the closer today, and I'm sure that sent excitement throughout every Philly fan's houses. I mean, it's just more of the same. I don't know. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And we have Zach Eflin, we've got Vince Velasquez, and we've got Hector Neris back as the closer. So I do have a little trepidation there, but there are more arms. There are different arms. He brought in some veterans to see if they could make it, like Neftali Feliz, who was terrible, and Cologne,
Tony Watson, right? He didn't even make
Tony Watson. I was surprised he didn't make it.
Yeah,
honestly.
me too. Because he pitched very well last year, didn't he?
He still could come back. He just has no stuff, and he's a soft tosser. But listen, I think anybody that thinks they can tell you how this team is going to do and how this bullpen is going to do is fooling themselves, much less fooling us, because nobody knows.
No,
we don't know.
Nobody does. What I will say about the closer spot selection right now with Hector Neris, I think that was just a move by Girardi to, define his role. It's one, your role, you're not worried about if you got to go out in the 8th inning, 7th inning, you're going out to close a game, to start the season. If it works well, great. If it doesn't, he can turn somewhere else. And I wouldn't be surprised if Archie Bradley became this team's closer at some point throughout the course of the season. What I will, you mentioned
that was the hope when they brought him in. But I think his fastball is down a few ticks. That's always something that's concerning about
what I will say. You brought up the word stuff, and Alvarado's got some stuff. Coonrod's got some stuff. Archie Bradley's got some stuff. So and a lot Alvarado's got stuff, has a high velocity, and is a ground ball pitcher last year at least.
Nuke LaLoosh had stuff, but he used to hit the Durham Bull until Crash Davis taught him what to do. I mean, that's Alvarado to me right now.
Look, man, what I will say, I'll go back to your point about last season. If they're not historically bad, you mentioned that they were in the mix. They were literally in the playoff race until the final series against Tampa. And Nola, is awful in the last start or second to last game. Wheeler gets that injury on his pitching hand with his finger stuck in his zipper. And all that stuff.
You can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. Last year, it was a movie for this Phillies organization. But my point is, if they're not historically bad last season, they make the playoffs. And I stand they're historically bad. And my point, to go off of what you said earlier, is just that if they can be, you said serviceable, I'll go middle of the pack, top 20, 21, 21st, 22nd best bullpen in the league. Bottom third, middle of the pack. I believe that they will be in the race all year yet again.
I don't disagree with you. And I think that's a fair goal. I think it's not unrealistic. There are a couple of better arms than there were last year. You mentioned a couple of them. Connor Brogdon is one that I'm kind of excited about. And there was
you ready for JoJo Romero again?
What?
You ready for JoJo Romero again? He made the roster, didn't he?
He did not.
He didn't?
He did not. He was sent down with your good friend Odubel Herrera.
My good friend, yeah. My good pal Odubel.
JoJo. I'm sure JoJo will be up at some point, but I think that there were times last year where Joe Girardi was just like, "Can I get an out somewhere?"
Yeah,
and it didn't have to be a seventh inning guy, an eighth inning guy, a ninth inning guy. He just needed somebody. I believe there are people that can get some outs this year. So I believe there's a statistical probability that it will be better than it was last year.
Well,
Joe Girardi is a big role definition guy when it comes to the bullpen. So how long will it be that Hector Neris is the closer, Bradley and Alvarado are the setup guys, and everybody else leads you there? Will it fall into place? Will there be adjustments? Will there be trials and tribulations? Probably. But I know that Girardi's comfortable when he can settle in those roles.
Well, I mean, I remember when we were just excited to get David Hale and Heath Embry in here last year on this podcast. We're like, oh my God, they got a closer maybe. Oh, he
don't forget about my good friend and yours, Brandon Workman.
Oh my, that's who I'm talking. That's who I meant.
That's who you're thinking of.
Oh my God, that's right. Hale was a separate trade from the Yankees, and Hembry and Brandon Workman came over from the Red Sox.
Who's the guy they got from Minnesota that was lights out until he got to Philly? What was his name? He didn't.
Oh my God, yeah. He didn't let up a home run, or no? Was it a home run or a walk? It was one of the other.
Whatever it was, he had an ERA in the ones, and he came here and he couldn't get anybody out.
Yeah, I forget.
I hope somebody chats in his name because I don't have time to look it up. But that was a nightmare as well.
I forgot about that. We were like, oh my God, we got a piece. But no, I agree with you about Girard. Like, dude, it was at any phase of the game, whether it was the bullpen actually plays serviceable, and then you get to the ninth inning and they fall apart. And everything just went wrong last year. I saw a video on Twitter earlier of the Orioles game, top of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs. I forget if it was Neris throwing or whoever it was. Infield pop up, and Segura misses the catch.
Oh yeah,
and they the fielding was atrocious behind everyone as well. Like, just everything went wrong for this team. And what I'll say, I don't pay too much mind into spring training. But you talk about Alvarado got beat up his last 2 outings in spring training and everything. But for a couple weeks of spring training, I saw a tweet that the Phillies bullpen was one of the top 5 bullpens in the major league. So
don't do that to us right now.
Oh, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So I think they're somewhere in between. The top 5 and getting rocked. I think they're going to be a middle of the pack bullpen, and I truly believe if that's the case, I think this team can make the playoffs.
There's a part of me that's a little frustrated by this conversation in that I think you're right. But the frustration part for me is we're talking about making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And this is a team that dominated from 2007 to 2011. When I look at the Phillies up against the Dodgers, up against the Braves, up against, some of these better teams. It's not even
Right.
close. But to your point, if the bullpen is functional, if, I really do believe in the everyday lineup, and if the starters are, if the first three are good and the last two are good enough, you're right. It's a playoff team.
What the Phillies have is a top 5 or 6 lineup with a very, very good 1-2 punch. That I think with those two things you can compete. It's how the rest of the rest of the chips fall in place. I think Nola and Wheeler are a very formidable 1-2. I know that the Padres starting 5 is stacked now. I know the Nationals have a great starting 5. I know that the Braves added to their starting 5, but not, and the Dodgers as well. But not every team in this league has 1 through 4 or 1 through 5. That is like every night. It's like, damn, that's kind of scary. The Phillies have a top 2, with a very, very, very good, dangerous lineup. How does the bottom half of the rotation and how does the bullpen fall in place? And that's going to, I think, to me, dude, that's the story that's going to play out all season long. That's going to have us excited for a couple weeks and then having us bang our heads off the wall for a couple weeks.
Let me ask you a really hard question. I asked you this last year, but now that it came to fruition, the Phillies did what you and so many were begging for and signed JT Realmuto. If you had it to do over again,
sure,
would you have let JT Realmuto walked, signed the top closer and a great number 2 starter and a serviceable catcher for JT's contract? Because you would have been able to with that money, probably.
A great number 2 starter or a great number 3 starter?
2 or 3. Solid number 2 or 3.
So then where Wheeler would become your 3?
Maybe. Yeah. I think that was I think with the money that you paid Realmuto, you probably could have. I can't remember who some of those free agents were, but there's probably somebody, definitely they could have gotten Odorizzi or somebody like that.
It's a great question. It's something that I even like. I can't just come out and say definitively re-sign JT. Just when I look at what they put in, and when I look at your $330 million man is, literally marketing for this dude on social media to bring him back. Like, I feel like you kind of had to. Now, with the, option B that you laid out, top of the line closer, serviceable. What's serviceable catcher though?
I mean,
because you're talking best in the game.
Right. I'm talking a guy that'll bat 235, throw, definitely less runners out than JT, calls a decent game, and can play 70% of the time.
That's 30% of Andrew Knapp. Ooh.
Somebody slightly better than Andrew Knapp.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say I still would have re-signed JT.
Okay. I don't know if you're right or wrong, but I think
neither do I.
We need to think about throughout the season.
We can definitely throw something out there on Twitter for a poll or something. Because
I wouldn't throw it out there until the Phillies blow 2 or 3 leads.
What would you have done? I know what you would have done.
JT's 29. They paid him a lot of money. He's a catcher, and I don't know if the DH rules come into the National League. I would have gotten some better pitching, and I would have gotten a decent catcher.
It's hard.
I like him. I like him a lot as a player. I love the fact that they work with Bryce Harper, and I love the whole Harper campaign. But there's a reason that Bryce Harper is getting paid $300+ million to be your right fielder and not to be your general manager.
Sure.
So I think that I probably would have put the money into the pitching because they really put no money. Listen, there was a point in the offseason where we didn't think they were going to spend any money.
Yeah.
Then they spent some, and they definitely nickel-dimed it aside from Realmuto, and we're looking for 1-year deals and, different opportunities.
They got Didi for what? 2 for 30?
What's that?
They got Didi for what? 2 for 30?
Yeah, I thought there were better deals out there. They could have saved some. I would have put more money into pitching. I thought there were some decent shortstops out there that they could have gotten for $7-8 million for a year. They did draft Bryson Stott to be your shortstop in 2 years. So listen, these are all popular moves because they're popular players and they're good players. But when I look at the overall health of the organization, if they didn't have the unlimited budget from John Middleton, I would have put some more money into the pitching.
It's a fair point. It's because it's just the glaringly obvious issue with this team last year was pitching. So it's where you rather, okay, well, what's going to win us more games, JT or investing more in the bullpen and in another starter that can go out there and not blow those games. But it's tough. I'm going to stick with the JT, especially for what you invested to get him. Mm-hmm. Now I get it. Part of that is,
well, I think they got a good deal for what he was originally looking for.
Sure.
He's definitely the highest paid catcher, but he wanted to be one of the highest paid players. So they definitely got the money that they wanted to pay. And, he's going to be a Philly for the rest of his career, most likely.
Right.
And that's great.
Yeah.
There aren't many catchers that don't decline in their 30s. And that would be great. Maybe he can play some first base or what have you going forward if the DH rule does not come to the National League. Listen, we're just going to have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
I don't think you can
definitively
say they were right or I'm right.
You are starting out the first episode of Spitballing with a tough question, my friend. Tough,
dude, I'm not here for just my pretty face. I'm here to get some work in, man. I want people to think and enjoy the podcast.
All right. Now let me throw this question to you. This is a little more
All
thinking of what we actually have.
Okay.
Who is the biggest X factor on this Phillies ball club in terms of their success this season? And I'm not talking just in the bat. I'm talking a single player. So you can't just go, the bullpen. I'm talking a single player, but it can be in the rotation or it can be in the lineup.
Zach Eflin.
Zach Eflin, huh? Okay.
Zach Eflin wins 14 games, is able to throw, 190 innings, 200 innings, has an ERA of about 3.9, and Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola do what they do. I think you're in pretty good shape.
I like that answer, and I'm going with my X factor off of what you just said.
Go ahead.
So what exactly is it that Aaron Nola does? So we've had a conversation of, is he truly an ace? Was 2017 an anomaly? We've seen his struggles since. He's my X factor. Clearly, the glaringly obvious answer in the lineup is Rhys Hoskins, right? I would think a lot of people would go Rhys Hoskins. But
yeah, you're right. That's a great point, because if you recall, the offense really struggled when he went out.
Yeah. And then Abe says here, he's going with Rhys. Which Rhys Hoskins shows up, we need him to have a strong season. And, that's a great answer.
Though, is Noah never sucks. I mean, he might not be ace, but I need him to be ace.
But I need him to be ace. That's what I mean by X factor.
I think that's a very fair point.
Because I think it sets the tone then for your X factor. I think if he's leading the way by example, and what was he the Cy Young year that when he was a runner finalist, when 17-3? I don't need him, not 17-3, right? But if he can win 15 ball games, like 15-5 or whatever, 15-4 with a strong ERA and go deep into games, and every night that Aaron Nola is on that bump, your chances of winning are your odds of winning are way higher than your odds of losing are. Okay. That's the Aaron Nola I need, because I can't just have, he's good, but is he really an ace? Then this team's ceiling is a lot lower than compared to 2017 Aaron Nola. You put Cy Young Aaron Nola with this lineup, because this ain't the lineup he had in 2017. That was pre Bryce Harper, pre JT Real Muto, pre Didi Gregorius. If you put that Aaron Nola or something close to that with this lineup with Joe Girardi, then I think this team's ceiling is a little bit higher.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could argue with that. I mean, if Aaron Nola wins 20 games and has an ERA of 2.5, it's going to, and everybody else needs to step up too.
Sure.
I mean, I just think that the reason that I said Zach Eflin, and you're not wrong with your answer.
No, and I don't think you're wrong as well.
Wrong. And the reason that the justification for that answer is I think we kind of expect Nola to do well. How well? I don't know.
Okay.
I think we expect Wheeler to do well. I think, in business, they say hope is not a strategy. We hope Zach Eflin does well. That's all I'm saying.
That's a great point. But the issue with this team, like you said, there's going to be a lot of things we have to keep our eye on, and a lot of things. What is one of the things you said to me? Was it pre-show or earlier in the show? Like, they need a couple of things to go right for this team, and I think that aligns with the X factors, right? Like they need Zach Eflin, they need Rhys Hoskins. Like it's those things that need to fall into place.
You make a really good point. I think the best way to handle what you just said is to go, okay, from a relief pitching perspective, they need Archie Bradley to be really good. So either he emerges as the closer and as a rock and setup man. From a starting perspective, it's what we just talked about. From a hitting perspective, Rhys Hoskins has to be really good, and Alec Boehm needs to take the next step.
Which I think he will.
And they need to get something out of center field.
Yeah, and that's the next thing I want to dive into. But just touching on the Boehm thing, that kid is a professional hitter. He is one of the when the Phillies are playing live, and we're texting a little bit back and forth. How many times in the short stint that we did the show last year where we text each other, Boehm, Boehm, Boehm? Like it was every other night, every night. So that kid's unbelievable. But the Rhys Hoskins point is great because remember the field, the idea that we all had when Bryce was brought here and spring training, it was Bryce in the 3-hole, Rhys cleaning up, and then opening day against Atlanta. They walk Bryce, pitch around him. Rhys hits a grand slam over the left field wall. Like that idea is kind of what you need. Where are you? I
was. Bryce's first game, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was at Bryce's first home run. That was unbelievable. I mean, they won both, but still.
I don't know. That first game was electric. I mean, everybody, and he really played up to the crowd and started doing that thing in right field.
The bowing, I'll never forget that.
And you know what? I got to be honest. That's another topic we can hit for another day. But he's been such a great free agent acquisition, not just because he's been good, but he's been a good dude, and he really gets Philadelphia. He never really says anything that's like, oh, I wish he didn't say that. Yeah. Everything is very team oriented. He's been a great signing. He's been one of the best. Philadelphia does not have a strong history in great free agent signings. And he's definitely been among the best. Yeah.
I think this is the first year. Not like I've been on record the first 2 years saying that Bryce, there were people saying he's not living up to the contract. I think he's lived up to every penny of it so far.
Yeah.
You don't?
Disagree.
You disagree?
No, I disagree that he has been living up to the contract.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What's the name? But I think this is the first season you get MVP caliber Bryce.
Maybe. Hopefully.
I
had it last year till he got hurt.
Yeah. I just have that feel. The swing's different. Like, again, I don't put too much stock in the spring training. The swing looks less violent. There's more contact. And his exit velo, were you seeing some of those numbers in spring training with his exit velo?
Yeah, 110, 113.
So it's different, man. And if he can stay that and not try to, he can hit a ball 450 feet without trying to murder it. So if that all plays into the back issues and all that. But I think, we know what we're getting out of right field, I think. Left field, before we get on the center field, which is the more concerning topic. Kutch, that knee looks okay to start. He's not going to play every day. He'll probably play every other day or something like that, or they'll figure it out as the weeks go on. What do you expect out of Andrew McCutchen this year? Do you still like him in the leadoff spot?
I like him for his brain, not for his body. I mean, he's older, and he's shown that he can break down. So there are concerns. Left field is the least taxing of the outfield spots on your body, so it's fine. I still like him as a teammate. I like him as a leadoff hitter. I like him as a table setter. I like him as a smart player out there, one that can bring some energy. You just wonder what his bat has left. I mean, he's an older. What is he? 36, 37.
He might be a little younger than that. I don't know. You know what? You keep going, and I'll find this for you.
I mean, I think. Look, the bottom line with the outfield is, thank goodness we're another year removed from Captain Coconut Oil and the launch angle and all that crap that we had to deal with for all that time.
34.
He's only 34. Well, he's an old 34 with some of the things that he's dealt with lately. Me and
that is Uncle Larry,
old 34, but I'd love to be an old 34, but that's a whole other discussion. But listen, I like him a lot as a player, but there's a lot of ifs with this team.
Yeah.
If McCutchen can stay healthy, if Harper can stay healthy, if Hoskins bounces back, if Didi stays healthy, because he's had some injuries in the past, if Bohm takes the next step, if Nola becomes an ace, if Wheeler stays healthy,
if the bullpen is better,
there's a lot. There's a lot of ifs. So, we played the great promo for the gambling site, which was unbelievable. But I'm not sure I'm betting over 85 wins. What about you?
I think their over under is lower than that. The last time I checked,
81.
Yeah, I'm hitting the over on that. I think
I would
they're
go
around.
over, but but you're going to need 88 to make the playoffs.
Sure, I think they're around that 86 number. But I think there is a circumstances where if things do play out well, or if they're in the mix at if they're in that 2 spot or right behind that 2 spot and 1 spot, they're all hunched together by the trade deadline. And he goes out and makes a move that can help this team or propel this bullpen a little more, or a third arm later in the middle of the season, then I think there's circumstances where they can get to that high 80 number. But like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty that the great organizations, the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, they don't have these uncertainties.
No, or they just have, 5 guys as good as their first guy, like in San Diego and Los Angeles, where there's unlimited funds. So, we're acting a little bit like a small market again, which concerns me. I'm going to give them the year from the pandemic, and then I really want to see Middleton spend again next year.
I agree. Let's get into center field as one of our last topics today, and then we'll wrap up with just our predictions on the division. What are your thoughts on the center field position? Obviously, Odubel had a couple big home runs. He had a couple big bat flips, but overall, I think he batted in like the low 230s or something in spring training. He didn't do enough to force their hand with what he did in the past a year or two ago. He didn't force their hand playing wise to make them have him start in center field. So we're back to Adam Hazley and Roman Quinn. If you know me.
All right, here we go. Ready? If Quinn can stay healthy.
I don't even care. How about this? If Quinn can hit over 250, how about that one? Okay. I get the health point, but everyone talks about Roman Quinn's speed. You need to get on base first to utilize that speed.
I like Adam Hazley.
I like him better than Quinn.
At the University of Virginia. He's got home run power, hasn't exhibited it yet in the major leagues. I don't love Quinn. I think Quinn is a limited player. I don't think he can get on base enough. So I'd like to see Hazley win that job.
I think he's going to. But my question to you, I think it's a lot of matchup based, as we've seen in the past with Girardi. And I'm pretty sure we have a lefty on opening day. Hazley's a lefty. Quinn's a switch hitter. What do you think's going to happen on opening day tomorrow?
Well, I think you'll see Quinn.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think, that's
hopefully the rain holds off.
Unless, if Hazley starts, I don't know if Girardi's a big Hazley guy anyway. He really hasn't been all over him at all, or at least acted like it. But unless it's kind of like the Jason Worth thing where he said, I need to be the everyday guy, and Charlie Manuel said, prove it, and he did. I think that's what we're going to see this year. I think we're going to see the platoon.
Okay, I agree with you on that note. I'm not a Roman Quinn guy at all. If you can't tell with how frustrated I just got talking about his speed and getting on base.
I think I can tell.
Yeah. But I'm just not sold on Adam Hazley either. I know he had a great spring. Mickey Moniak started the spring strong, so we'll see what happens there.
We need to reserve a whole other podcast to Mickey Moniak and Scott Kingery.
Yeah, Scotty. They made the right move there. They screwed
Scotty
that kid
jetpacks. Up. He was absolutely ruined by Gabe Kapler.
Yep, launch angle. Yep, all
ruined
that stuff.
Ruined him.
So,
we'll get into that
wrapping up today's show. Opening day is tomorrow. So, there's 2 things I want to look at the season as a whole. Division-wise, where do you think the Phillies stand 1 through 5? But then let's get into this first series over the weekend against the Braves and talk about how we think they fare against Atlanta to start. So start in the short term. How do you think they do in this 3-game set against the Braves?
Well, the Braves have some really good pitching, and they never hit Max Fried. ever.
Yeah.
I think, pessimistically, I would say they're going to take 1 out of 3. Optimistically, I'm hoping for 2. But, unless something changes, the Braves seem to have their number from a pitching perspective, and they can't do anything with Max Fried. How about you?
Should I go get the brooms? Nah, I'm just kidding. The
Yeah, I
Phillies
know.
have
I'm
to
starting
take-
on a sour note, but I
Yeah.
mean, hey, listen, prove it to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going with logic. Logic tells me they're going to lose 2 out of 3.
Right. It's like when I was talking about the Sixers Nuggets game last night, and people were telling me we were going to beat the Nuggets, and I'm just like, I don't see it. I'm trying to use logic here. I agree with you. I'm going to go 1 and 2. I hope prove me wrong. I like to be wrong in those cases. Prove me wrong to start the year. Win, take the series. But what I will say is I think they win tomorrow. I think they win on opening day. First time fans are back. I know it's only like 8,000 or so, but they're going to be juiced. And I do think they get the win tomorrow in a low scoring game. I don't think it's the opening day 2 years ago when you were down there and Kutch led off with a homer, Reese hit a grand slam. I don't see any of that. I could see like a 3-2 type of ball game tomorrow with Fried versus Nola. So that's where I'll go. And then in the long term, you think they're over the 81, but you don't think they're near the high 80s.
No.
Just division-wise, like you said, the Mets have spent a lot of money. James McCann, Francisco Lindor, new management, new all that. The Braves are the Braves still. And then the Nats have a damn good starting 5, and Juan Soto is going to be maybe in the MVP race. Where do you think the Phillies fare in the division in the NL East this year?
Well, the one optimistic thing that we haven't talked about is I do believe that if they're in the mix at the trade deadline, I do believe a lot more in Dave Dombrowski getting some help than Matt Klentak. So there's that. I think they're behind the Braves and the Mets, and I think they're right there with the Nationals. I'm going to say if I have to pick just for optimism, I'll say they come in third and win about 85 games.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, and I think that the Mets are always going to Met to me. So, I know they went out and spent some money, but we need to see it with the Phillies. I also need to see it with the Mets. I know on paper it looks fantastic, but I need to see that they're actually taking a step in the right direction with that franchise.
I'm impressed with their leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the billionaire owner, but I mean, Sandy Alderson, they made a management change, and it seems like some smart people are over there for the first time in a long time, which pains me to say because I hate the Mets more than any other team. But
I think that the Phillies
are on the rise.
I think that
and
the Phillies are
Lindor.
closer. Yeah, so do I. But they only signed him to a 1-year deal, right? I believe.
Well, I think they're negotiating today. They offered him 10 for $350.
Oh yeah, and he wants 12. Yeah, saw that. What's the name? I think the Phillies are a lot closer to the top of the division, that 1-2 area, than they are the basement of the division, where some people are just being ultimately negative on this team. Like I said, they were a fringe playoff team last year, and they had an historically bad bullpen. There's new pieces. So
my hot take?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Marlins come in second.
I got the Marlins. Nah, see, that's going to be fun to keep an eye on all year. I'm glad you said that because I think the Marlins were just a flash in the pan in a weird pandemic season, in a shortened season. I'm sorry. I'm not buying into Corey Dickerson and leading that team. And no, I think
I'm
the Marlins
buying into Sixto Sanchez and a lot of those young arms.
Nah, so that'll
done a good job of loading up that pitching staff with electric arms.
That'll be a lot of fun to keep an eye on this year.
All right, we'll side bet that one.
All right, sounds good. We'll do something fun with it.
All right,
but
good stuff today, man. This was fun.
Yes, sir. First of many.
Absolutely.
First of many. So for myself, you can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98, and for my man Mike, you can follow him at Real Mike Small. He's got a lot of good Phillies takes. He's got a lot of good, interesting, funny Sixers takes and NBA takes on game night.
I'm glad you think they're funny because I make people mad, but that makes me happy.
And you can go follow our podcast at Ballin Spit. I set it up last year, but we're going to really get that ball rolling now. So go follow it. It's just the spitballing, but reversed. At Ballin Spit on Twitter. It's in my Twitter bio. So go check out our Twitter page, and I'll be keeping you up to date throughout Phillies games, throughout the Phillies season. So again, for
Well,
myself,
I should put it in my Twitter bio, huh?
yeah,
I'm on it.
for myself, for Mike, for the Painted Lines, happy opening day and go Phils.